Okay, I want to read a book. This book here today, what I'm going to teach is out of the book is called The Complete Apocrypha Collection. It's the lost and rejected scriptures of the old library of ancient texts, including all 12 Christian apocryphal books. Now, what does apocrypha mean? Apocrypha simply means lost or stolen books. When King James gave us the 1611, who was a Jew, who was in exile out of Israel in 70 AD when General Vastin and Titus put a slaughter to our people, he was one of the families that ran into Europe. A lot of our people ran Nigeria, and they ran into different parts of Africa. But for the most part, they ran into the Americas and into Europe and all the European nations that you know today. And these books were taken so it keep people in ignorance. So I'm going to read a little bit. This is chapter 92. Enoch wrote this, and Enoch gave us a message. Enoch was seventh born from creation, and Enoch was translated, which means he never died. He was taken up. Why? Because these fleshly bodies was given us for one reason only, and it's for judgment. The angels are not tempted like us, and the ones that were, you understand, they're locked up under the river Euphrates, and they're locked under the earth right now. And their offspring, what you would call demons, because they died in the floods, their bodies, but their spirits were evil. They're the ones that's on the earth, 10th part. I already did a little part about, I'm going to do another one again about the 10% that were left on the earth, and the 90. I did one, but some reason they took it down, so I'm going to redo it in another format. So I'm going to read about Enoch. Enoch wrote this full doctrine of wisdom, praising all men, and a judge of all the world for all children who live in the world. Also, for the future generations to uphold righteousness and harmony. Let not your spirit be troubled by the time, for the Holy One has appointed days for all things. Then the righteous shall rise from the sleep, and arise and walk in the ways of righteousness. And in everlasting goodness and grace shall be all his ways, and his conversation. He will be gracious to the righteous, and will give him everlasting uprightness, and will give him strength that he may be upright. And this is what the Messiah is going to do. He says he's going to take that heart, because right now we got hearts of stone. He's going to give us a heart of flesh. And not only that, he's going to put his spirit into his people. Now, that's not only Israel, the 12 tribes, but all the others who do not reject, This is why this is called the lost and rejected scriptures. The ones who don't reject his scriptures, his teachings that the holy prophets gave that were inspired by the Most High and none other. Keep reading. Chapter 93, and after that, Enoch gave us and started recounting from text according to what happened to me in the dream of heaven, when I understood the word of the holy angels and heard from the tablets of heaven. Enoch recounted from the scriptures, saying, I was born seventh in the first week, through judgment and righteousness endured. It said, though judgment and righteousness endured, great wickedness shall arise after me in the second week, and deception shall spring up in the first end therein, and a man shall be saved in it, and after that unrighteousness is done. A statute shall be made for the sinners. So after that, at the end of the third week, a man shall be chosen as a plant of righteousness, judgment. So his prosperity shall be a plant of righteousness forever. And after that, at the end of the fourth week, signs of the holy righteous shall be seen, and a rule shall be made for them in all generations. Thereafter, in the fifth week, at the end thereof, the house of glory and dominion shall be built forever. Also after that, in the sixth week, all that dwell therein shall be blinded, and the hearts of them all shall forsake wisdom. And this is where we're at right now. The Lord said the knowledge of this world is foolishness, that wisdom comes from above. But everybody right now, because they reject scriptures, they're blinded. And they bought into the things that are going on in the earth. Everybody's so worried about Donald Trump and him being indicted. They're so worried about some submarine that looks like a gas can that went under the earth, under the water, which we know that it is all fabricated. And folks, listen, you got to use wisdom here. Why would you have billionaires, and these billionaires, so-called billionaires, are building something like a gas can when they say 250,000 each? Heck, they can build a yacht to go underneath the new Noah's Ark. So all of this stuff is distractions so that you don't read these words, you don't know what's going on around you, so you can keep being bamboozled. So they can always keep you in what I would call a box. Let me keep reading here. It says, thereafter in the fifth week, it says, where are we at here? It says, after that in the seventh week, the apostate age will emerge, and many will be his deeds, and all his deeds will be apostate. And the elect righteous of eternal plant for righteous shall be selected, and receive sevenfold instruction concerning all his life. For who among all men's children will hear? This is what he's asking, who will hear the voice of the Holy One without being troubled? What should you consider to, it says, what should consider his thoughts, and who would behold all his works of heaven? And how would someone be able to see heaven? And who is there who can understand things of heaven and see a soul or a spirit and say to it, or sin, and see all their ends and think or do like them? Also, who is there of all men who could know the breadth and length of the earth, and to whom was the measure of all? Or is there any who can distinguish the length of the sky, and the magnitude of its heights, and the base thereof, and the number of the plants, and the number of the luminaries? So he's asking all these questions, chapter 94. Now I say to you, my daughters, this is what he's saying to the daughters of the earth, because these are the ones that are contaminating, and these are the ones that are, remember, Eve he used first, Satan used Eve first, the woman. So this is the one who holds the vessels. Let me keep reading. Now I say to you, my daughters, love righteousness and walk in it. For the plant of righteousness are worthy of recognition, but the plant of unrighteousness is unexpectedly broken and vanished. Also, to certain men of a generation, the paths of violence and death shall be revealed, and there shall be far from them, and they shall not follow them. But seek for yourselves righteousness and choose life, and walk in the ways of peace and live and prosper. Now, when I see this, the first thing that I think about is I saw a video of a young man, young black guy. He cursing at some lady, I guess, at a food place. Next thing you know, he goes ahead and he says, you say one more thing, I'm going to slap you. And she says something. Now, it wasn't nothing for him to hit her. She's a woman, matter of fact. He hit her. And guess what happened? His 14-year-old son ended up doing something to him where his life is no longer here. And so when that happened, it's because he broke one of these first rules. The Lord say, be at peace and live, and you will prosper. But first of all, who hits a woman? So all of these things are what the Lord allows, because those 10% of the demons that are on this earth, you understand? Their job is to rouse you, to get you upset, to get you to do things. But if you don't have wisdom, you'll fall into their snares, their pits, and their traps. It says here, and keep fast my words in the thoughts of your hearts, and let them not be blotted out of your heart. For I know that the wicked tempt them. It says, for I know that the wicked tempt men to wicked wisdom. That's what they do. They tempt you and give you wicked wisdom. It says that no place may be found for her, that no temptation may fail, because wisdom is considered a female. And it says that when you're tempted with wicked advice and people are showing you things that have nothing to do with the Torah, what happens is you ended up being unrighteousness due to temptation. And that's why the devil, he can't do nothing to you without permission. And this is what we got to understand. The devil has to get permission. It says, woe unto those that create unrighteousness and tyranny, and lay a foundation of deceit, for suddenly they shall be overthrown and have no peace. Woe unto them that build a house with sin, for all their foundations shall be overthrown and fall by the sword. Those who unexpectedly gain gold and silver in judgment must perish. Woe unto you, ye rich, for you trust in your riches, and depart from your riches, because you have not remembered the highest in the days of your riches. Blasphemy and wickedness have you committed, and ready for the day of slaughter, and the day of darkness, and the day of great judgment. And right now, you got children being missing all over the world. You got this agenda being pushed on the children. And a lot of this is by whom? These so-called rich men. They forgot where they came from. They forgot what they got. And a lot of them, they pray what we call, and they worship gods of forces. So, folks, we got to make sure right now we're girded up. We got to put that helmet on, that breastplate. And we got to know that all people can be saved through Yeshua. But the only way that's going to happen, you cannot reject his holy scriptures.